So this is on my Facebook account here, but this is an ambiguous image where I'll just show you here. So my scar looks like a 25 sometimes, and a spider. So here's where it looks like a 25 and a spider. Here particularly it looks like a 25 and I got white skin. And here particularly it looks like a spider. I got white skin again. People use brain-computer interfaces and neuroprosthetics, and they have augmented reality, so they're able to use subliminal, and they make my skin tone appear to be a different color than what Christian Eric Arnie Meyer, myself, what I was born with. So you can see here, I kind of outlined the scar where it looks like a spider there. It's called an ambiguous image. My scar didn't always look like this. I got this when I was about 11 years old, 12 years old, and before 1990 anyways, and but in 2025 it changed to look like a 25 and a spider. I was able to do this with my subliminal system that I run. My name's Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. I'll just show you another ambiguous image in the clouds from it's called cloud seeding or geoengineering. So this is what the picture look like. This is what the cloud looks like normally. Now I'll show you. I'll break it down and show you what it actually looks like with an ambiguous image. So here's what I'm just talking to my phone here. So you can see the image right there in the shape there. It's an alien head ambiguous image, and then right there's a face. So that's what makes it an ambiguous image. And then this one is an Easter Island head, and this is what Easter Island heads look like. Christian Eric Arnie Meyer's subliminal system to protect mankind, good people only. You can see the subliminal face here in the shape, and it looks like my face. This was in asphalt in Toronto, and I call myself Scene 077 because that's my initials. Born in 1977, and once again I'm a white man. This is what my face looks like now. But this is what it looked like there. You can clearly see it looks like me, Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. And then once again, that's what it looks like in the picture. It looks like a white man, Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. So these are all the ambiguous images, and so this was earlier in the day. You can see how I had very few wrinkles under my eyes. And this was a few minutes later. You can see how I had wrinkles. They made the veins to get in my eyes and more wrinkles under my eyes there. That was the same day, a few minutes later. Because there's a subliminal system. So this guy right here, James, he thinks he's the guy, but this shows right here, July 7th, 2025, that I am the guy, Christian Eric Arnie Meyer. And then so you can see how right here it shows that this was at less wrinkles at 9:27 a.m. on July 4th, 2025. And this is a Gauss or Tesla meter. A Gauss, it's you can see, that's how you can spell it right there, Gauss. Meter is it measures magnetic fields, or it's a Tesla meter. It measures magnetic fields, and it's able to so basically many Gauss meters utilize the Hall effect sensor, which is a small semiconductor element that produces voltage proportionally to the magnetic field strength. So in my body, the Canadian government registers me. I'm just going to show you what I look like today. And I should have less wrinkles today than I have in the past. And, compared to the other day, and it's July 7th, 2025. I'll just show you right here. Usually they make my son usually they make my son come here. So I believe one of the staff, I'm going to show over here, one of the staff used my phone last night because I didn't have the GNet signed in. I don't use Wi-Fi whatsoever. And I had more battery strength than 1% when I plugged it in today. So this is evidence that that Rob used it, guaranteed. And because they didn't turn off the Wi-Fi, I only use my mobile data at the hospital. So they can't justify restricting me to certain websites. So once again, it's July 7th, 2025. And you can see I have, until I said that, I had less wrinkles at the beginning as soon as I showed myself. And so you can see that. So I'm going to extend the telomeres of my face right now. And so once again, that guy, Rob, that I just mentioned right there, I'm going to turn off his family. And once again, they perceive force, and they pretend that this is just in my head, right? So if it's in my head, then all of your family, right? If it's just in my head, once again, you wrote people, you allow me to be violated. You know, when I'm circumcised, you know, when you get circumcised, you get the foreskin taken off the tip of your penis. They augmented I have the scar of my entire shaft. So anyways, so the ghost meter is, I'll just show you right here. You know, there's a probe sensor, there's a readout, and scientific ghost meters are used in the physics and material science to study magnetic phenomena. So I would have a different ghost reading in my lower leg than I would in my upper leg. To you know, that's how the government registers me with neuroprosthetics, using brain-computer interface to falsely register me to hide their culpability. Here's all the proof of that right there. Long term. So once again, they're just human perpetrators. You know, in Canada, there is a freedom of thought. That means, you know, George Orwell wrote a book called 1984 about the thought police in 1949. It's the year 2025. So now in 2025, they pretend that people have more than one body and more than one brain to hide their culpability. So they watch my face is going to look skinnier in a second once I disconnect fat people from me. So you can see how I look better. And now I'm going to disconnect all ugly people from me, and I'm going to look better looking. Right, because they have most of these generational pedophiles. They're ugly people and they rape people that way. Usually there's millions of people. If I was to self-gratify myself, they usually rape me that way. And if I was to say protein, like they just raised my mouth when I said that. And none of those stories ever happened with me. And so for them to try to hide their culpability of their family. So once again, and this is what the person that used my phone last night at the hospital, that's what they typically do to their daughter 4 times, right? And you think that you could hide, they try to hide based on the left-hand image and then the stop button, or the stop button would be where you take a picture. And once again, they're laying down right now, and Canada has a system that's supposed to be so sophisticated and so accurate, Canada, that you know where everybody is walking. It's so much that you put Canadians to death based on the system. But how come you never know where I am Christian Eric Arnie Meyer, like where my voice box is? Like, sure, people could, with neuroprosthetics and brain computer interfaces, they could hijack my body from different locations. But the voice is emanating from my physical location. How come you can never tell where that is? How come they put elephant compound in my food this morning, and I haven't seen an elephant in years? How come I just made elephants laugh, right? So how come in the subconscious realm, and like here's all the proof of that right there. And in the subliminal, people would be able to see that their psyche would realize that I'm telling the truth. And so anyways, how come I'm able to realize that you put compounds in my food? How come you pretend that Seam 077 is a black man from Nigeria now? And before you pretended it was Seam 097, a guy from Gabon, like these shelters in Windsor, Ontario. How come you're pretending that, Canada, still? Like, once again, you have a system that's so accurate, right? That in Toronto it's dine safe. And then in Windsor, it's inspected. You have where you register these people, but you make people like myself homeless, and then you allow these human perpetrators to buy food, and then they give us food, and then we eat that food, and then they hide their culpability through our body, and then you try and kill us. Why do you allow that to happen, Canada? Why do you do that? How come the very first day that I was hospitalized at the mental health ward on May 5th, how come on May 6th when I had my blood pressure reading, how come it was 160? How come that's basically what C. O'Brien, the cop that drove me to the hospital, how come that's basically what his blood pressure is normally? Right, so how come when I mentioned to him, I challenged him, I can't say ask. Whenever I go to say ask, at first they try to make me say AST to pretend that I'm the Beaumont family in Scarborough, Ontario. Right, and they're going to be their perpetrators, so they're turning them off. They're useless. And so once I challenged the officer and I said, are you able to commandeer a human body with chemical electrolysis using technology? How come he said no? How come right now, C. O'Brien, that's what he looks like. How come he's trying to commandeer my body right now? Right? Once again, I'm going to be the true king of the world. And here's actually who I am in the universe. Right, so for these human perpetrators, these cops that sit in parking lots and commit crime most of the day, this is the average amount of crime that Canadian cops and cops throughout the world commit per day. In the secret order, the New World Order, where countries like China and America and China work together. I'm the only human on the planet that realizes that I was going to say America and China, but they made me say China first. I'm the only person that realizes that there's a switch in their brain. But you think you could protect me better than I could protect myself, but you don't follow any of my protocol, Canada, or the world. You don't follow any of my organic directive and use my mind to predict the strategy. Here's proof of all the stocks that were traded on the stock market last week. And here's what I suggested that they did, but they didn't do it secretly. I did forecast it for them. And it proves that I was able to accurately predict every single stock transaction on the stock market. But they keep me poor. They make me beg for change. And then the doctor, the last time I seen him, in his notes, he says he sees me almost every day. I've only seen him maybe 6 times since I've been in the hospital, almost 60 days. Right, but in his notes, he says he sees me almost every day. And you know what? He had me in the PICU for 10 days. And this is how they try to set me up with their great culpability. And the PICU. And he said that there was no beds available. So, once with the Freedom of Information Act, I'm allowed to request, I can't request medical records, but I could request patient count and bed counts for the mental health work during the time period from May 5th to May 15th. And I'm going to show that there was plenty of beds available in the main unit, right? And so you know what that means? That means he lied. And you know what else that means? I posted a video, it's called Mentalist Maybe or Maybe Not. So I started the video, it was in 2019, first of all. This Dr. Ogbonna, he tried to use a video that I posted 6 years ago while I was in Denmark, and so it was 2019. So he tried to basically say that a video from 2019 would indicate my mental health currently in 2025. How ethical is that? He tried to use song lyrics against me. Like a song lyric. I wrote a lyric in a song, right? Imagine using a song lyrics against somebody to question their mental health, right? How ethical is that, Canada? At the Surrey Hospital. And first of all, I sent all this proof to the public relations. How come I'm still in the hospital? They thought I had a meeting today because people listen to my thoughts. So I made them think that I had a meeting today at 8 a.m. So you know what happened when I grabbed my phone? Last night they said they were going to plug in my phone for me. You know what they did? They didn't plug in my phone. They used my phone all night. And to diminish the battery, I had exactly 1% of my battery. Here's what they did last night. Because when I plugged in my phone, one of the staff members indicated that they knew my password. Right, so how come the staff uses my phone, right? So anyways, so that being said, they try to because I would have needed my phone for evidence for upcoming hearing, so they try to make it so I had exactly 1% battery, so I wouldn't have evidence, but I misinformed them. I just have to lie in my mind about certain things, about times when I have meetings, right? Then they can't set me up. Right? They can't sabotage me. They can't pay bribes. This is the bribe that they're trying to pay right now. This is the fentanyl account. But they don't realize I came up with Wi-Fi currency, Wi-Fi paper currency. That means every single bill is on the internet. I'm able to track all the money. You can't pay people slowly. I still pick that stuff up. These people, you're not smart. I have evolved human biology. They restrict my natural voice, and they restrict it because it hunts predators. I speak on a frequency that hunts predators. Watch, I'm going to tune in them, and then I'm going to look like I died. I just tuned in some predators. That's my natural voice. They restrict my natural commanding presence, my testosterone. I'm 47 years old, and this is how much estrogen they broadcast to my brain. The penis envy of these little men. And one day you have to answer to me, right? One day you have to answer me. Men at 47 years old, they have to take testosterone pills, and you think you're going to broadcast estrogen and make me get wrinkled on film here? That's fantastic. I did that intentionally. So once again, I'm going to do my natural voice, and then just show everybody, all the perpetrators, and then all my wrinkles are going to disappear. Just on cue. You guys can't run the system. You got to realize it's my fucking system. And words like fuck is just a word. You chose to make that a bad word. But you chose to make hello a greeting word. Right? So words are just words. It's tone of voice. And once again, I'm the king. I'm going to be the king. It's guaranteed. I posted it online. Like, only Canada is the derelict country now. Like, the other countries, they're going to get your economy. Like, eventually, I'm going to own your entire economy almost. Right? I employ unofficially 15 million of your workers. So you know what I'm going to do, Canada? I'm going to lay off 7 million of them in one day. They're all going to be getting unemployment at once. Then I'm going to encourage them, they're going to get broke. Then I'm going to encourage them to all go to the bank and try to pull out money all at once. You know what would happen to your economy? Bye-bye, Canadian economy. Bye-bye. But you know what? You're idiots. You're going to be like, okay, well, we could print more money. And guess what would happen? That would deflate the value of your money. You can't just print more money. Your money goes down. If you have $100 Canadian bills, like 100 million, pardon me, if you have 100 million Canadian bills, right, it's worth, right now, they just say in this example, it's worth 73.10 cents. That's what the Canadian dollar was worth American today. So now, if you print out, say, 1 million Canadian bills, now your money is only going to be worth 7.31 cents. It'd be 10 times less. You can't just print more money. If you could just print more money, dumbass, then every country would just print money all the time. You're stupid. You're too stupid to run the world. Nobody could do Christian America anymore. You know, the reason why I got hospitalized is, I'm like, well, okay, you guys postulated. That means you thought, you quandered. That means you thought, like, you wrote theses, even like, oh, did the egg come before the chicken? Or did the chicken come before the egg? So that's a sarcastic tone. So see, someone like Dr. Agbana, he wouldn't recognize that as sarcasm. So that's a sign that he doesn't have a healthy mind. You know, in the mental, well, before I get into the egg and chicken, anyways, the long and short of it is, how many birds, like, as a human, have you ever seen a bird's nest on the ground? Right? Birds' nests are usually up in trees, right? So they don't get eaten. So they don't get stepped on, right? But people are like, oh, the very first chicken, the egg must have came first. And it's like, no, you're not that smart. That's why you can't lead. Like, the eggs require incubation. They require a hen to sit on it, and their body heat from the hen incubates and warms the egg, and then the egg develops, the embryo in the egg. We eat the eggs, embryo. That's why we eat eggs. There's no body inside there. So they couldn't even climb a tree and all those sarcastic things I said. So anyways, in the mentalist maybe or maybe not video, I was like, most of my videos are so serious, so this one's going to be less serious. And that was my tone of voice. And then I'm like, I'm going to try to stop the cars with my mind. That's a sarcastic tone. So how come Dr. Agbana, he's supposed to be a psychiatrist, right? That's psyche trick, right? They play psyche trick. And if you look at therapist, right? You know what a therapist is? It says the rapist, right? So how many of these psychiatrists, like percentage worldwide, are rapists? And why is it frequencies? They could have called it anything else. But, you know, they're a homosexual species, the human race. Why do you think they call them Homo sapiens? Why wouldn't they call them straight sapiens? You know, my species is a different species. My kid's species, they're going to be called straight Meyer-Diggins. And then I'm a different species than my kids. So I'm going to be called Smarticus. I'm the Greek god of sarcasm, motherfuckers.